Hey y'all, it's Rabbit Hole 223. Are you ready for some amazing pink oyster mushrooms? Harvested this today. Unfortunately got a little bit less than I wanted, but here we go. Pretty basic ingredients: smoked paprika, garlic, salt, pepper, obviously your pink oyster mushrooms. One thing that I didn't show here that you're gonna need is some butter and some pure maple syrup. Although I'm gonna be honest, I didn't have any pure maple syrup, so I just used what I had in the house for normal pancake syrup. Turned out amazing, no problem there. Cool, now that we got all the ingredients, we got the supplies. You need a pan, a knife, obviously, a bowl for mixing. I really like the tongs. You don't have to have them, but they make life easier. They will make it easier when you have to flip. Some parchment paper to cover your cookie sheet, and then of course your cookie sheet. Yay! Okay, now that we've got all the ingredients, it's time to start preparing them, getting them ready to go. It's pretty basic. Turn on the oven here. We're going to get it preheated to 350. Just that way we're ready to go once everything's ready. It doesn't take long to prepare these ingredients, so might as well get it preheated ahead of time. I'm going to take out the big stalk out of the middle. One thing I can tell you is that this was about 102 grams before I started. It came out to about 70 grams after I pulled out the cores. So, the recipe calls for 12 ounces. I had 2 and a little bit. It is what it is. I just wanted a snack. I want to try it. I had brand new fresh oyster mushrooms right off the block, and figured I'd make them. So here I'm just breaking out again, taking out the big thick core. You can feel it. It's actually tough compared to the softer fruits on the outside. Seems like a lot of waste, but I'll tell you what, when I felt it in my hands, there's no way you wanted to eat that. At least not unless you were putting it in a broth or something like that and sauteing it and getting soft. Here I just kind of weigh it out to see exactly what I had. Again, I had weighed it before. I knew it was 102 grams. Here it's definitely not. It comes out a little less. Of course, as you can see, I was stupid, tried to just throw it on the scale. Unfortunately, the scale was undersized, so I get smarter here in just a sec. This small clump you see here probably wasn't really ready for harvest, but given I was harvesting the one, I figured I might as well just pull them both off the block. They actually tasted fine. I'll tell you that. They were great. The biggest thing I could say is that they were a little bit harder to flip and deal with that, but I probably should have just left them on the block, but I felt like I was harvesting one, might as well harvest it all. That way when I reset the block, I'm all good to go. That second bunch was funny. I didn't even notice it was growing till today, and then I was looking in there getting ready to harvest the big bunch on top. If you look at my other videos, you'll see that. And all of a sudden I noticed it was hidden behind the lines I made. I was like, oh wow, okay. So there you go. I threw it in a bowl, getting it ready for later. Now we're going to cut these things up. I'm going to tell you, honestly, after eating them, I probably would not have cut these up if I had realized how much they were going to shrink. It said to cut them into strips. I really should have just left them big. I think those whole fruits would have been really nice to eat on and enjoy. They definitely would have been a lot easier to flip when it comes later. Just something to think about. Again, you can read the description. I got this recipe from the North Spore website. There you go, all chopped up, ready to go. Time to get this done. I'm using kind of a modified version of this, about a third. I probably should have used a little less of the recipe. 1 tablespoon of butter is what I've got in there. All good. Putting it on a very low heat. I can't stress, keep that heat low. You're really just trying to melt that butter, simmer out a little bit of that flavor. It says to bring this to a nice simmer. Don't do that. Like, just as soon as that butter melts, just keep that temperature really low. Here's my syrup, getting it in there. I actually added a tablespoon of that. Here's the smoked paprika. Gave it an amazing flavor. We've got a little garlic powder. I actually put too much garlic powder in there, I'll be honest. It was pretty strong. I tasted this, and as you'll see in my bloopers on the end, I actually did this again with a little bit less of everything because it just was too strong. And also, I did exactly what I'm telling you not to do. I turned that heat up and caramelized it. So there was some salt and some black pepper, cracked black pepper. And just mix that in there, keeping that heat nice and low. Getting that butter nice and melted. Keep stirring it, keep it moving around. You know, you'll get that warmth in that oil, and that butter, it'll really suck up those flavors, and it'll be wonderful. Again, make sure that heat's low. I can't stress it enough. Keep it nice and low. Just mix it in there. And again, you can see this is kind of actually the second time. The first time I went to dump it in there, and I realized it was just too thick. And so I had to make a second one and stir it up in there, which again, I used a little less garlic, and that helped a lot. If you were using a full recipe, this is probably really easy, but 12 ounces, I'm gonna be honest, 12 ounces of the oyster mushrooms would have been a lot. I ate the 2 ounces. It was a good snack. My kids had a little bit, you know, just throwing them out here on the parchment paper. One thing I can tell you I did here wrong. I'm not a cook. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm learning as I go. Just like the mushrooms, is I didn't cut down the paper to the size or fold it under or anything like that. So this flap kind of flopped over on the top, you'll see here. Really made it a pain in the neck. Also, I think it kind of affected how the mushrooms cooked underneath there. They didn't get as dark and brown and as nice and crispy. So again, we've got that oven heated to 350. We're putting it on the baking sheet with parchment paper on it. Just kind of spread them out, is what I would say. Make sure you get a good spread. You don't want them really stacked up because they'll stay soggy. You kind of want to get them a little bit crisped up when they're in the oven. So yeah, here I throw them in the oven at 350. I started with 15 minutes. You're supposed to pull them out and turn them twice. I am going to be honest, I actually only did it once. I don't think it was a real problem. I did that at about 12 minutes. Flip that over, pull them out. Here you'll see it was a real pain in the neck. Like I said, because the small size of the pieces. Again, if they were bigger pieces, I think this would have been a lot easier, a lot less time consuming. And of course, you got to clean up. I did this while I was baking. Figured it was a nice time. I had 15 minutes at least, so I could get this all cleaned up. That way when I sat down, I could enjoy the meal. Magic of the camera, it goes nice and quick. It actually wasn't that bad. Here I am flipping them. You'll see they are very, very hot. And see there you can see that paper that I should have cut off or done something different. I was trying to flip these individually, and honestly it just didn't work. They were too small. So I wound up just kind of stirring them around, kind of moving them around the pan, figuring out which ones I could really flip. Threw them back in. At this point I had another 2 minutes. I looked at them at 15 minutes. They weren't quite ready, so I threw them back in for another 2, which means I got a total of 17 minutes here on the baking. Scoop them up with the tongs. This is where I was saying the tongs are useful. You don't actually have to have them, but it definitely made it a lot easier just to pick them all up, throw them on the plate. You know, you could use a spatula or something, but this was just the right tool for the right job. Tell you what, just watching this, getting this audio done, it's making my mouth watering again. This stuff was so good. I really enjoyed it. Loved it. Will definitely make it again. Kids loved it. There it is. You can see it's nice and beautiful. Here's a few oops. You'll see right here, this is where I was talking about I really boiled the heck out of it. And it almost caramelized, or probably did caramelize. You might have seen in the video where I pulled something out. That was caramel. This stuff was just like paste, like thick goo. So use low heat. That's your hint. And then I came along here and I wanted to take this video and wanted you to hear this. That's the sound of crispy pink oyster maple bacon. Yum.